men kai cross and the hair holiday, but ja. Mobile a day.
Na just when the president di to dwa enra. Wo more modern chire mu kwan kra Ghana for ye fa so nya ye independence. Na wo bobo so no wo chire ye se ono ne na busuafo de or mo fight for independence ba. The independence ne de as the president he reject the notion say a nipa baako energy a ye fan with ma wo man Ghana. Wo chire mu say the Aboriginal Rights Protection Society ne de e wo mo a na busuafo wo mo ka ho ana anenam so a ye di independence no ye di be wie eno ana owura John Dramani Mahama so say o Ghana de enimu a ye Kwame Nkrumah. He is the redeemer, he is our founder. Menim de won so wo ka fa ho.
Yeah, Dr. Renard, since the political history of Ghana has been told in plain language. And over the years, I think we've all have been enlightened or exposed to the details of events that led to Ghana's independence. Yes, I do admit the fact, one person alone cannot say or independence, I'm or mine. Or is he a course involve around a lot of people? But you see, a kwaba. Rested on the shoulders of a person who led the cause. And in this particular instance, so what the role of Kwame Nkrumah, Abra, Oba Krum Hasei, UGCC for Kofana Baye, na Oshe Omomoto den, and Nkrumah Yakofana Baye, no, as he said, no, everything was wrong with the notion, say, Yan Chang. Your friend said the possible time. Okay, say no, it should be done now. And also other countries, like India, Mahatma Gandhi, ne other great people, Nelson Mandela, and so for him. And Mandela and fighting for apartheid. We know. Even other countries, Africa, I can't be. There are a lot of forces. A bit of life. Whole lot of individuals are making sacrifices, including students. So we are aware that students route. Am I shoot to a movie crime in Salafina movies or here?
Yes.
Account I see a lot of people were sacrificed in the journey to secure South Africa will gain independence. By now, the central pointer na adini revolve around him. Na Nelson Mandela. Because Dr. Ren, you can't bundle a group of people and say yes, celebrate your munina because I'm fighting for independence. Whenever the struggle of independence is mentioned, and one person a name a bar, it doesn't take away other people no encounter. But in recent times, I think we have seen desperate attempts from President Akufo-Addo in Nkrumah, and you see their motivation isn't about the role these people are able to play. Or more motivating in an answer for your mobusian for. And whether you like it or not, they are part of the story. And they must take a front row. I don't know at your stages. Your mom will take the front row. And I will be more bands and maba. So when the story is being told in detailed language, a bit of beer from my bo be adding. But Dr. Ran Babia Kunjansino, yan coming from Kunkusi.
Hey, Tobo. Baby aden.
Yes. Baby wa konwa ensi no okwa afasha ase. Na ye de wa konwa kusi. Your friend say high table achi na wankasa wo tam de kusi animu a next time na be fa akwa twene. Wa hwa ade na so kra na be pam wo firi ho. Obia wo baby a otena. And I think that is the side stepper. Akufo-Addo and the family, as I said, you to me. So let us make an attempt to rewrite the political, the history of this particular country by placing these individuals at the forefront. And this over here, Omoye, this first independence celebration we are Omoye. There was a timer. Omo printed individual big six, Even Kwame Nkrumah crowd the lead way. No, yes, that can nim banana buy no. Then it half and kahon. Yes. And other people were there. And you are more in recent times in United States, and Nkrumah crowd there, the struggle for independence and don't count over tomb.
And no crabby said to CD now, Kwame Nkrumah Funyi National Tamils Press, you try, any circulation BMCC, enye legal tender bi yasesa no with a coin na Kwame Nkrumah mfo nyini bi anda so.
Yeah, honestly, me who be at officially no mama want me car say ya call back the money, but ohwehwe bia unhu bi our system no. Ohwehwe bia unhu. So you see, some of these things may not be an official policy, but subtle no. Ohwe nema omo ye ni nyina na seek to denigrate the role Nkrumah player in our struggle for independence. And I'm saying, Sir Dr. Ren, if you want to tell your story, you can also hype and answer insist on the individual roles that these people abiding. Now, no, meet a lawyer, I'm not from Pong. Now, or why this big six, and as we tell the story now, it's quite funny. What's a big six now? I dare toward dream with them be fighting for independence. It wasn't so. There are people are more. And according to them, there were two people not among count, but you course say no more. Is it a Kwaje and one other guy? And yet see a more can and they see in a newspaper show say the big six have been arrested. So a newspaper headline and say they were part of the independence fight. Because Nipana Yokoshia no fin, and said Dr. Ren, politics, and I said. Yeah, so for conspiracy, so yeah, banners are one meter why, yeah, because I need
yeah,
and they rounded these people up. So the core individuals are not Mudu Musika Press support the UGCC. Papaya na there's a power grantor on the offer idea, then you know, by Nisika na all sponsor for every activity. No more, he wasn't even part of it. You can't tell.
Okay, you see. First of all, Ghana's independence, the road to Ghana's independence, I shall see with Papa be a friend of Jacob Wilson say.
Okay.
Now, Jacob Wilson say, say the whole Ghana and Yamboni ding. And I think said the people of Moko Infantipim Ekahumbi, they are not doing a great service to the man called Jacob Wilson say. And they say, Assassina a Infantipim Tisu say no. Na a papa dia and or the ma womo. Osama womu sika krase yem fancy Infantipim school. Those days no, na ye Wesleyan a year school. Pa grant uboni din woko biye. Now, the Aboriginal right no, Jacob Wilson say ete no, what because he was a businessman. And at the time he was the first multi-millionaire in Africa. No sikapa. Now one day we'll go into the story how he came about in the riches. He was just a farmer and a palm wine tapper. No, you hear ni ba. You queer ni ba do. Na maybe you could do your do and could two a year good year so. And it was a year massive gold our koto so. That was the beginning of the riches. Now when you sikano who said there be a brofuno mudi so no. So we free and so because when it comes to trade and commerce, we see a tuntum for. So what a year Jacob Wilson say and I think that the president was narrating the story, but he did a disservice to Ghanaians about speaking the truth to the story and watch on the 4th of August, a year in his speech to the broadcast to the nation. You know. Now, the disservice our president a creating is no person who criticise sa Aboriginal right protection no nebusianfo kan woboa nebusianfo bi anka. This is what happened. Jacob Wilson say was against the discrimination and the unfavorable matters of business abrofuno any year the British. And into no say almost etosumienu. The king at that time England in a year 1896 to 1897. Omo di bibi e buy your friend the Crown Lands Bill. Na baby a womu ye colonial masters no. Womo pese assassin womo fa. Eno na Jacob Wilson say ye de betu na anim no fa lawyer fo bi so mo say e banzen wo pede wo kire e wo de masem a wa atwere yi. Then they had to interpret it to Jacob Wilson say. Eno one say ama asemi de oye ebufusem oye de ye bibi fa ho enti o gada elite educated people from Nigeria, Sierra Leone and Ghana. And was say mudia munisika na mo wonim de makosuku mu ye lawyer for. Na me besoma mo say monko English eye krom and go and challenge this particular Crown Lands Bill. That is the reason why Ghana yasase no ambe ye Brunidia. Because the Crown's Land Bill no a year from 1941 to a year 1951 no that notion no enam eye from 1896 to 1897 eye Jacob Wilson say etimi fight ye ema Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone assassin ankoya abrofo ne dia no. And it's a wish ya South Africa for the assassin bi koya abrofo ne dia because at the time no muni nkofo a ombe fight ya ma. Zimbabwe is also an example. At the time, no money call for me fight yama woman. Zimbabwe for so no abrofuni ye den ejefa. A South Africa assassin so abrofuni jefa. Ye lucky to have a Ghanaian, the greatest of all. I call him the greatest of all because I need Jacob Sinsi and Kenny assassin abrofudia. Or no, and ye was debia yem famano. Ne a free one aborigin right no. A year pa grant to free axim. Ya wunwo Benin or yenzemeni. Jacob Wilson say, "Eye kwaw or yemfanti yenzemeni, ne fa yemfanti ne fa yenzema." So the fight of independence of Ghana no, was fought by the Enzimes and the Central Region Emfantifo. Let's establish this particular fact. Ye can fact na. One more tribal mo kon a fight against the colonialism no. Say obroni di so yempeno started with Enzimes and Fantis. Now. Jacob Wilson say, "Estati the Aboriginal Right Protection Society no. Obi a akwada no wono so ebeka anwo a wo join ebie a obeye omo secretary at the time. Ni din Pa Grant ofri Axim. Now Pa Grant NT UGCC on 4th of August 1947. What UGCC no. Ni lawyer at the time Akunwajeyi. Eno ka kira Akunwajeyi say abrofo no kra na mra na me ye secretary Aboriginal Right Protection na yesa nkomu free yokuro mu dadaada na omu free ho na from the First and Second World War no so no ye koba ye na mehunu se abrofo yi ye business ye no omu ne ye di nkwan paso. Now let us establish the fact say 1920 to 22 no Pa Grant obe establish business Germany and UK. England has say obe be a timber merchant company UK. And will be able to Germany and will be able to United States of America. Now, after the Second World War, we will say not British for no kasemu, and they were trying to take advantage of the Ghanaians. And into a fair Akweje say, we also come up with a team of a young noble, elite, educated. Now, young fight engage abrofun is a time as we said we want self-government now, and that was the formation of UGCC. And Akweje etonkra efre obechebilamte. And wato grafre awono and wato grafre JB Dankwa. Now funny enough no so na jese Pa Granty no wo ni business ana wo Ghana no ni timber merchant firm no what spreading across ebi kopie mu ebu akwa. Enti JB Dankwa mo de enyo omonye achim kotokufuo omonye achim bosomefo omonye achim ebu akwafo na Akonje di wo mo be kan the UGCC no say self government now. So wo penokore pa de anka obeka say bibi e wo Bible mu a friend said the 12 disciple the last supper no senka Ghana ye kan ye pa de a enka ye Judas no JB Dankwa because we betray the self government now. Enunti na 2 days to the death of Pa Grant no Kwame Nkrumah conversate no ka kire ne say enam say wona wutua me sika £100 eme be fa me free Liverpool because wo sma Akonje na Akonje nso be hu me wo Liverpool obehu me wo London when we organize the Pan-African a friend is saying right United Kingdom Manchester no obehu me 1949 mu wo no obehu me no hu no say me nso I am fighting for against segregation and also I'm fighting against abrofo a wo mu di Africa force so I was already established but when I came and I realized that the people I was seeing di enimu fighting for self-government now no will be adane no Judas Iscariot a friend JB Dankwa woni ni nua no mo afiri achim bosome a wo mo no achim ebu akwa a wo mo no a friend is saying Kufuado ne papa no mo wo mo mpene so wo broni bedi eso ne but me de me pene so say obroni no wonko omo mpene so say abrofo ne beko omo mpene so say abrofo ne enko so ndi eso but ye pene so say abrofo ne enko. And into the purpose I'm a mo secretary no that purpose me wunu send nkofo na ewo no nkofo bi omo habe into 2 days Pa Grant ibeguru no woni Kwame Nkrumah tena ase ewo Axim ene ni di nkomo esun ka kire ne se JB Dankwa has betrayed the trust emwo keka nsem bebre emwo de ne sika kora boa no emmo for me the CPP into initial CPP sika no omo start here no it came from the pocket of Pa Grant wono nso ye nzimani na ofri Axim. This is the establishment and this where nam so ye benya the independence of Ghana. And sanko from you know amabo mudin. Aye Jacob was say any pa grant no ye body mpoa woman ka ho. Nenya ya. Iva to aso.
Dr. Ryan, good. I think that will illustrate, establish the premise for this discussion, and I think that it was quite extensive. And it'll be OTBR, where this argument echo. So, Abra stage in the city, yes, per independence. You see, the single role of Kwame Nkrumah play, the lead. Your friends a person for this liberation, obedient to me, and can. Nasem Africa has out of the pool, no, he's the one person who by a symbol of hope, or by a symbol across Africa is celebrating. No, why not everybody? Because of as an exceptional role that he played. For instance, my man starting from say, Abraham now can UGCC no, they never had the intention of unifying Ghana at the Trans-Togo and the northern region. The idea was to bring together the coastal regions. Na so munya Asante Kraka ho omoye okay. But Nkrumah an organization because as a general secretary he was in charge of organization and reorganization. And so ono ankasa na sneak out to engage the people in the Trans-Togo land and the northern regions. Then as for no more kasa say Ghana no and yet fibra we na yeba but sa unitary we no it will involve all of them because ye nyina ye kaboma na betimi amaya ye man. And because this idea no one, now it was different from idea not UGCC, spread the Yomo campaign. Again, it got to a point yes, seeking independence now. No, these people were saying, no, say about independence, and they because at that point, some of them were enjoying even. They pretend they are fighting independence, but you could see clearly say because almost say school then in the UK and they had classmates with these people, no, they felt comfortable and they were rather fighting against the movement for this change. After independence finally came, these people were in constant engagement with the Ukraine. Catch and say, even though Ghana for fighters are caught about their independence, the Kwame Nkrumah went there, but one cast of Yahoo Enyanso, Yahoo Swinty, about one Yatonokuran, Yankum, because Ghana is not ready for your friends for independence. Sanyama way you now make it is on record. These people eventually became saboteurs. Fighting for independence. They were on the other side trying to tear everything apart. So Nkrumah stood on his feet. From a prison, he won an election to lead this particular country. So that is an incredible achievement, and all by and them all by than I didn't know. And I'm said one person cannot fight for independence. Yes, liberty Ghana, and then I say for Dr. Ren, Metiha may can be. What how can be? Obit in the platform so can be. But a we are. Nasa a bedrube be nasa obi sorry now the movement and then nasa that change that person become a leader. But it doesn't mean that other people aren't contribute to. But the desperation is Nkrumah no yen denigrating yen yinim free or founder because might be anywhere your founder. Who told you? South Africa our founder. And that founder Nelson Mandela. Mandela no among for a coastal people march more than Mandela. And America as a student because of apartheid. No, you kubinum sa or software who now Tutu on find Desmond Tutu. Individuals at some point they became catalyst in this particular change. How they play a phenomenal and an outstanding role. And there are several people in South Africa. But when to mean come because apartheid, collectively people for no. Somebody need to lead the movement. It doesn't mean that other people Mahatma Gandhi and then as a forum Oko Singapore or more papa your change or mine. Yaboni Nidina Yabo. But it doesn't mean
Lee Kuan Yew.
Yes, exactly.
Kwame Nkrumah or Ma Kwame Nkrumah Futuobi. And if Nkrumah had listened to Lee Kuan Yew, enka obetnasi ache essaying the ekotono because
yes.
when Lee Kuan Yew emiti Kwame Nkrumah na Kwame Nkrumah the ideologies and the philosophy too no. We catch them Kwame Nkrumah say Enkof ideology we the one when you be hasisia into toboas na ye ABCD ansana, and that ABCD no one what and say he was able to try and clear some people from the cortex in him and should not take them lightly, because one day no woman they be fighting against you, no woman,
against him.
And exactly what Lee Kuan Yew said, exactly happened.
Yes, and see, and yes, nipa bi na akwatena baby na ya single Nkrumah out. Say onon kwa na fighting for independence yen celebrating. No, Nkrumah no ne influence no spread beyond the borders of this country. Na Ghana for na ya catch Egypt for so musi omo university omo fa Nkrumah we si ho. Ana Ethiopia, ana African Union, ana hwan. You see, the legacy of Papa no live in his wake, it transcended the borders of this country. So, in as much as now, until recently, Ansan Akufo-Addo enyama power no. Say indeed, if they believe say the role of these people a play area that much significant, I didn't know you waited till now. Now say MPP about power pain. Say Akufo power. I didn't know at that time no, or man rise. Because they knew say Kufuor will not buy into that foolish saying political propaganda no more.
There be Kufuor who winning baby. Kufuor won't pay Kwame Nkrumah. And it's an established fact to say one of the reasons why I have issue with Papa Kufuor. And I think it's years ago when some of us were with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the time, Kufuor time, those days, years ago. One of the reasons why Mubino and for we disagree with him, and I expressed my feelings towards Kufuor during the time I know president, and he didn't like Kwame Nkrumah. And the reason why I said Kufuor no buzia and a tete no, and a buzia no so no Kwame Nkrumah adamfo. Another one of the reasons why and so na Kufuor pe buzias Kwame Nkrumah some say Kufuor people don't know say ne maame a wo no na wo ye Prempeh the second yere. Kufuor maame any Prempeh the second ako out da. Prempeh the second aware ne da. Wone ne wo ma. Na Prempeh the second no nso no ekodu mre bi ni JB dan kwa akoda Prempeh the second. Enu ne ma Prempeh the second epa wo ne chifri Kwame Nkrumah ho. Wo mo kote mateme ho NLM no. That was the beginning. Na inti mamenkin kan bibi na memfam batrasi point here din komo. And I like the way you saying said no one is saying said the independence of Ghana no was fought by only one person. But however no, in every movement no, one person is the founder or the father. In Tuba a friend is America. Emra Rick Van Winkle mo making sure say America no betimi anya ne fan wudi na ebenya fan wudi ama America no. Others also fought for it. Ebeya bebi bedu bebi say America there. Ye were one person ye can the founders of America. Ye boni dinye. Ye nim say people fought there. But when it comes to the crack of the matter, say ye making sure said that independence no was achieved. Ye Kwame Nkrumah ne lead to it. And we know, say, a friend is saying, Ni Boni, no Otoso Miensa, during the year the boycott of 1948 against the European goods, a lead to a year the February 1948, 28 February, a year Christianborg Castle, a year a soldier phobi, a shere womonka, a year veterans for Miensa, a year Sergeant Ajete, Cooperativo, private, a year or Datelamti, Womoshe Womonka, ye de buff forward near Baby this uncle, a yes, a month for TSA. Well, my Ghana did send ye tibia na yano. Nipa ba kubi and the bomb modia a press ya. It fight and then the mark Kwame Nkrumah Ghana national no because other people no more fighting for self-government now no. A bedum brebina brofono start say womu miemia womo saki womo and tena say Kwame Nkrumah a year a college a year Ghana National College what they better test uncle for Ivan to assume.
Dr. Wen, and you know, and no one seven na ye can say. At some point, biano, ubenye nipa, oh yeah, or lead America de ya woken. You can won't mean America story about one can George Washington. Because I'm on phone him say indeed when it comes to say young fighting way the lead road and as a former. I'm on for you. You were your friend saying Abraham Lincoln. And you know your theater you could try to all yes. Because of some of these things. Yeah, come home say a former or we say State of the Union or be say no state be under that particular way. So a man for sacrifice a lot. So far as a mind of bedroom baby or bedroom. But in the end, there is one person who always emerges as a star on it take the lead role. And Nkrumah somebody or prisoner what me win election from prison when JB down kwana say atwetwuru we ba o masem nyina na omo na moya campaign Nkrumah never had a chance to do a campaign, yet he won, and it showed the significant influence the guy had. And again, as a president of Ghana, Obedi or Mainadim, and don't forget, say he's that first person in the sub-Saharan Africa has a Obey president. Because Ghana was the first country who gained independence in the sub-Sahara, has the whole of, and or inspire other countries. Oh, we and one has he was all over Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, wine, but he was everywhere. And within a period of 10 years, now he has been able to inspire over 31 African countries to be independent. That is why he was all over. And there is no single political history around Africa about Africa in Africa. I will be Bima and Nkrumah and Kanwe. It doesn't matter which country I can was him. But the guy was even seeking for the unification of the whole black African continent. Sebaya Yansuni bit powerful like the United States of America. And Ghana has said, I think said the signatures are quite starring. So and young Nkrumah na Babakachi will be some celebrity me. I Ghana for Natanase and I Yatanase looking through the document, the history, the story, and the things that he did. And I'm for this guy did phenomenal. And to say independence of Ghana, you cannot bundle these people together and give them the front row. Looking at the role that Nkrumah played, obviously Nkrumah will sit at the tabletop. Then more kind no a bit better than ne bi so atene obi achi ne bi atene obi achi sa na tie. But Anam said this na make Kufuor there. You see the entire even though I know the history UGCC ni Kufuor na yes omo no na sa Nkrumah books I see no Nkrumah ho nyina sa Nkrumah yeah, because they didn't want anything relating to Nkrumah to Ebeka. Abrofro na publish most of the Nkrumah books and na yenya bi kan yo nka Nkrumah de ya see the books nyina bande ye you cannot Yehu na se Nkrumah book kura ba ye bechewo at that point. But enam sa agenda na Akufo-Addo ne Nkrumah no sell no related to Achim na Achim people no ntino you cannot sell that particular thing to Kufuor because at that point no on buy, and it's the reason why they didn't put it forward. But now no the person or your president and then the Nkrumah mu ye nyina the same Achim people, and they are desperately trying to change the political history of this particular country. And I change or mu yi Nkrumah no kura from the front seat that's what we know back kind of one or mu yi Nkrumah from front seat try to make a case to say even how rule these Nkrumah we play no extra time Kwame Nkrumah and they should be recognized as such. And that is why people have problem. Because so when I'm for but we've read, we've listened to people who are around. I'm for privy to events and circumstances are a community to the independence of this particular country. When they tell the story, Dr. Ren, you cannot put Nkrumah away as an individual, looking at the sacrifices in the Nasefwa. Oh yeah, Abraham Nkrumah. Don't forget, we are school. Your friend is saying, US, or by UK no say Nkrumah be a lawyer. Obe you law school no or law exams one pass it and also one pass it. So out of that frustration now I say on who say or churobium na on churobium no enumu na papa ya wo kan na se misuma ma ekofa no to oba no ne law we na esi na ni so no age agu ontimi pursue. So a life for our nyina has to do make sure say this particular thing will go through until all sacrificing the time everything. Etina Nkrumah say obeye at some point you who say sa Nkrumah ye UGCC for most of independence ye de ano aka de but me sure mo abrabo na neyama omo ye ne nsem bi omo keka it doesn't look say they are ready enunti na manate na ho ye self government now put the machinery in place. And I'm said the guy was so smart omo ni bo omo hoto no na the tentacles no I grow beyond the coastal areas and Asante and no kind of same no. Kwame Nkrumah so and a northern region by a part of this country. Kwame Nkrumah so and a Volta region by a part of this country. Because plans are not where can not vote and come home. And today
say you call it for referendum plebiscite near yes we say mobile some could join here to go for a number some Ghana for and yes yes
Yes. So only the making these things possible and Ghana, because Omokrana they were even calling for a federal state. So I'm because almost say resources no more assets and resources no one TM fire Yesikan could develop your video. So they were living aggressively pushing for your fans a federal state by in no. So we said on mind munchikemu, ebi will be a bit nibbing as for a cassia cosa and the unitary state. And no crano, and no crack and who be no more strong carta the comma. Pain say no, akwa ya also by president or your mamboya 40 a canon quadan independence. No one for my
Maminkin can be cram away a letter
yes.
what was a dear Mr. Obdam. I exceedingly regret delay in replying to your 2 letters. That
yes.
Man, Kwame Nkrumah, and he said will be Kasa Napuka Samo Kwame Nkrumah.
No. Yes, that man.
That man, Kwame Nkrumah, who is leader of government business, has started his tricks again. This time, he who is the government is inviting all the political leaders and chiefs to join him to send an ultimatum to His Majesty government of the United Kingdom for self-government now. And if rejected, to declare positive action strikes and boycott, etc. There has been hectic activities all over the place, and on Sunday, we of the UGCC met at a great meeting and turned down his challenge flat as being an invitation to criminal conspiracy against law and order.
Yes.
I had to be away in Kumasi for long periods last month, and I am just now clearing up a pile of work. Now, unim say the kasa no can say I had to be away in Kumasi for long periods. That was when he was trying to convince a year Prempeh II, a year with Tumfo, Asante Hene say. Eya Kwame Nkrumah na wo support no no amu watiku a wodi usika ebua ne so wo mo embo modern na yen call for independence no wono sa brantie no wono no wo pese wo de wo man no e di other people bi beke kakeka ye ho eba ne sa no utumi no awo no emu be ye ha ntine Kwame Nkrumah no boycott no ene wo mo kote the NLM no. That was the beginning of a year pains and hatred from a year Prempeh II towards Kwame Nkrumah. And also now, actually no paragrant who says Sabranti na ye JB Dankwa when didn't cram farmer because the UGCCs no was for self-government now. Ivan,
yes. Dr. Ren, NTO, I mean, there's what kind this letter, and I'm sure that the signatory to this letter, Papa ya kana semi
JB Dankwa.
JB Dankwa. So look at it. So fight say pefa hodie. Baby Amrena Druno, we need to take charge of our own destiny because Kwame Nkrumah has already told us the black man is also capable of managing his own affair. So you have to be aggressive because Dr. What dia could you be ho? Nandi pano wa ma wani anya dia on fa mount. That is why Kwame Nkrumah was so radical. And let me put it on record. Kwame Nkrumah is the most radical president of Ghana, even though he wasn't a soldier. So, president, Rawlings was a soldier,
a very disciplinarian,
yes, but very radical and very pragmatic. So, what kind of the books? Now we see any all trances. Now words are always in the tone and as a father to say yes, because now he was fighting for a cause. These people here, say. Independence by no. These are the letters I will kind be trying to sabotage and snatch on him. Said no, Akwana Odi no I am Mamboya for. This is JB Dankwa telling the Queen. Say my independence and my because Kwame Nkrumah no Odi anymore and Yenipa. No, moment me rely on him. Because Jim Crawford be no more Ghana for or don't baba kaya home and a day basa and as a for beba. And this way are dear way, say Abrantia no Koswa, the other people kind of home. That's why I'm fighting for independence nearby. Why do today come back and say, a war and Aquajabai? And indeed, Abra Nkrumah independence, no. Sam Crawford way, they never among rest you. To the extent that JB Dankwa was arrested and charged with treason, and he died in prison. To be charged with treason, that's the highest crime of a country. We are charged with treason. Now we do for the next line, either say a cocoon, and that's how we call life imprisonment. And that because it's one of the highest crime in our constitution. And JB Dankwa was charged with treason, and he was imprisoned, and he died in prison.
Can you imagine, say, a cry,
Yes.
Timaya Ghana, now will be a charge with treason, and they were no moment at the Ghana Sikaso. Can we just even imagine?
Yeah. So in the real story, no, and no crowd, yeah. Who's that, Dr. Ren? What's your mind? What's me, Bobra, Papa, sa, Udru, baby, I say, oh, Papa, ya, Wakotia, Kra, what in few men, sa, Atonomona. Deɛ wayɛ nyinaa papa de nyinaa and book bi a wodi wom bia kora papa no ye be you afrim because adeɛ baako na wayɛ no that indignation you know a color deɛ wayɛ nyinaa and it will take you to zero, and that is what JB Dankwa did. And think I ka obi asɛm a ka JB Dankwa kora deɛ and this nka yɛbɔ ne din even though he played a certain role, but because of the way of conducting ho na ɔman na yako agye ne no, he was fighting from within to break down the country, no. My charging with treason to the sense of that prison, no. What do you mean to know? Now again, CPP I can was a mean. Now Kwame Nkrumah the CPP as a political vehicle.
JB Dankwa no ka say a vote no to Republic Constitution. No can say a vote cry say you beg any independent. For me, let me be honest with you. Factually, I'm here to see documented say JB Dankwa contributed towards the independence of Ghana. I'm yet to see because every book be a me read biano. He went against the self-government now. No one person benya independence. Okay, can Chronicles, and I think say Chronicles crowd ebedu mre bi kra de wo mo se Kwame Nkrumah no kra no yento a friend say ye mbomode an ye mpe bombs ne mfam bombe no ne assassinate no kulungungu bombing wo hwen kofo we nuom a wo mo ye against Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes, and these are people and you see the funny aspect of this whole thing they say even a no kra say Dr. Ren and as we are making in inverted commas say I no kra say JB Dankwa ne wofase ne nkrofo yi FY e ma yenya independence mpa enka baby na wofase ne sa atimfo yi aba begina sa independence no eni hobiem because as we speak Ghana is fighting for a new independence since when I call elections Akufo time Rawlings time then as for Ghana for say we are fighting for our third independence the by na TV. Because the Yewomi is more than slavery. And it's the same blood, it's the same tradition, it's the same people from the same family, from the same lineage. And then, Omo de Ghana, ako to slavery. And then, Omo enjoy. Because I Japadia document here by Nancy Omo Kikam Kasa, some fan who said, no Ukrainian, as if we clearly, a true said, they had an agenda from day one, plan how to plunder this country. And Omo adnam so aba bedru ele nti se nka independence bi kura omo wuro bi wo ma nka ende the omo tso ende they've taken away that particular independence, you understand? So I think say a desperation and abai no free, so I'm sure say things will reverse to normal because some of this nonsense and nobody will be tolerating as a form because you cannot take Nkrumah away. And UGCC na ye forming say UGCC na ye forming the for guest in as a form no.
Yes, UGCC no a pa grant in Zemani no Brazil no e for me.
Dr. Renas and yet damn and then cragging the whole team. The UGCC never won independence for this country. It wasn't the political movement that did independence. So if anything as I won't find Nkrumah no cry, why not the CPP? Because the CPP will.
Unim say the Onipakro no tailed UGCC no. Me say 2 days a wo bewu in 1956 a wo ba bewu no Kwame Nkrumah kwasra no e wo Axim ono an ka say yensoma Kwame Nkrumah no ombra